I may, maybe I'll come up with some great stuff. I don't know what's going to happen here, where it's going to go. I cannot speak to. Um, I don't have a gigantic plan. I'm tired of not talking about it. And there's some things. There are some very serious things that I want to address, as far as kind of things of how we look at things, how we think of things. Um, Certain things that have been at least put out there as if they're true about our nation, our history, our everything, really everything. Um, I'm going to initiate this on Phillipsburg Live, actually, because normally we do this on God's Love Live. I'm going to do it on Phillipsburg Live because it's more of a. There is going to be. I cannot do this without having some discussion that includes God, of course, because news and politics viewed through through the kingdom heart or eyes. I think maybe eyes. Let's change that to eyes. Um, and I'm doing this because I've had some discussions over some time with friends and people who I trust their judgment, and I trust and value their opinions. I've had discussions with people who are on the left, on the right, on the middle. I've been called everything from right wing extremist to left wing. I hate libtard. There's been some people that have actually referred to me that way. And I'm not saying it because I want you to be like, oh, poor guy, somebody said whatever. No, I'm saying it because it seems to me, and I would very much like to hear your opinion. So I am definitely going to allow comments and whatever throughout this thing. If you have a comment, you can text me 814-651-8865. It's sitting right here in front of me. If you'd like to get involved, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, feel free to text 814-651-8865. Let me know, and we'll try to work you in. I can get rid of one of these windows with all the crap in it and put a video of you up in the corner here. Get rid of my phone number and the website address and the email address and all that stuff, and we can just kind of pop you up there, and I'll fill this whole thing. I'll get rid of all of the the video or all of the special effects kind of stuff, and I will literally pop in. I'll fill the whole screen with just people. Be more than happy to do that, as long as everybody learns to, or as long as everybody finds a way to talk reasonably with each other and in a loving way, a respectful way. That would be the only thing that I would demand, is that we find a way to speak kindly and compassionately to each other. Myself included in this entirety of this conversation when it comes to that, because and this is, I will say, this is one reason that I'm saying that, is because we tend not to do that, and I myself tend sometimes to lean into some of the BS, especially when, and I know if she sees this, my daughter's gonna be like, ha! Especially when you're talking about like dealing with my daughter Leanne, who is more of a liberal than I am, and this has been honestly since before 2020, really. Well before, because I was still on WPHB, which got sold in the beginning of 2020, shortly after the COVID thing started. I was still working at WEEU and for Magnum Broadcasting when I had an idea of having a conversation, just a conversation. I want to address whatever topics we're going to address. I would like to start. How do I say this? I would like to start by addressing them from a neutral position. So whatever it is we pick, whatever conversation we're going to have, whatever news clip we're looking at, whatever, I want to go from as neutral a position as I can possibly muster in myself. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to be completely neutral. I'm going to sit here and tell you that I want to try to be as neutral as humanly possible. I want to look at all the reasonable angles. And there's something that happened. Something I saw yesterday is the reason behind this. Happening now. It's the reason behind this happening now. It was a video. I wish I could find it. Discussing the Secret Service and the situation with Trump and denying him more security. The campaign apparently had asked for more security. I was trying to find something that I would maybe not get in trouble for using. I don't know where this came from, but maybe I can use. It's from the Hindustan Times. I don't know. I was just trying to find like a clip because I really would like to take a clip and kind of play a clip of somebody else so you guys know that I'm not really, making this up. According to this, what I'm looking at right now, for 2 years, the Trump campaign has been asking for more security. So I think I'm going to queue up this video, and I think I'll queue up this video, and maybe we'll take our chances. I'm not going to show the video, but I guess I could. No, I don't want platinum. Thank you very much. It's about a 3-minute video. Now let's go over here and make sure our Facebook crowd is in, because I don't think it's actually active yet. We are connected, but not active yet. So let's see. And yeah, this wasn't the clip I saw yesterday by looks of things. It really wasn't the clip I saw yesterday, but I definitely saw one like it. And it was kind of one of those things where I was like, Because as I'm looking at it, I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is a little strange, to be honest. We have them claiming, and when I say them claiming, I'm not speaking to the validity of the claims. I'm not. I don't know about the validity of the claims. When I speak of them claiming, as I just said, that Trump had been asking for more, I don't have all that information. I'm not a star reporter. I don't have the ability to get a lot of this stuff the way I would very much like to. So I tend to have to go just like you. I've got to watch different news things and go, okay, let's see, what they're saying, because, they're doing all this great work and I don't have a huge budget. If you'd like to see me able to do this, like a real news agency, then hey, guess what? Go to godslovelive.com. There's a donate button and you can click it. And if you do that, then there's a chance, at least, that we might be able to do this in a real way. So welcome in anybody who's joining us on Facebook, whether it's live or later. We started this video, of course, it started on our Roku, and when we end on Facebook, YouTube, and all the others, we will be continuing a little bit on Roku, because there's some music I want to share. And if you have Roku, all you have to do is search You go to your home screen and there's a search like a couple down, and you go down to the search and search God's Love Live. It'll bring up the God's Love Live channel. You can download it and then you can watch the program because we're going to continue. This is, I'm not sure how long, or maybe half hour-ish. I'm not sure, maybe an hour this video is going to be, or this live shot is going to be. Well, it's going to be a video too because we're also recording it. And it's going to be in the on-demand section of our God's Love Live Roku channel. In conjunction with Phillipsburg Live, I want to talk some news, just a little. And if you have any local news, from any community, it doesn't matter what community, any community, we would be more than happy to, share our thoughts on that, whatever. I kind of want to talk about news and culture, current political things, and I want to do it in a way that is that's almost like not almost. I want to do the best I can to try to do it through kingdom eyes, through eyes that are looking at it from a missional point of view, from the Isaiah 61 mission of Messiah. So we're going to start with, jump right in. We're going to jump right in, and we're going to start with the attack on Donald Trump and the claims about the Secret Service since. I've got a video from the Hindustan Times that I'm going to share with you as soon as I find the place where I kind of can kind of change. Nope, that's not it. I guess that is. I could do that. Download the video. Whatever. I got to do a window or a screen share over here. Just goes to show you how amazing I am, right? I'm trying to find it. Just bear with me for a second, guys. Display capture. There it is. Okay. Of course. Let's check this out. All right, I didn't realize what was going on here. There's no audio to this, so I'm going to back it up. Trump security exposed the Secret Service's lie. Secret Service lie on Trump security exposed. Secret Service lied that Trump didn't seek more security, according to reports. Secret Service, for 2 years, Trump apparently sought more Secret Service security. After murder bid, after someone tried to kill him, the Secret Service had claimed he never had sought more security. Apparently there are documents, and I have not found them. I do not know anything about the documents. I saw the reports just like you did, and you're seeing on the screen here the New York Times on July 20th reported Secret Service role in securing Trump. And we all saw, of course, apparently they then acknowledged it. They then acknowledged that he turned it down. And there's a lot of people saying a lot of things about this, and this is kind of what I want to touch on. It's kind of what, it's not kind of, it's exactly what I want to talk about, and we'll talk a little bit about it as this video is playing. I told my wife, we were talking about it, and she was like, that's terrible, they did that on purpose. And I'm like, well, okay, so here's the thing. For the last 2 years, apparently, he's been seeking more Secret Service protection. A couple of things. Number one, in order to, in any way, in my opinion, in any way, I don't care you're right, left, middle, I don't care if you float somewhere above in the top, whatever. Number one, any president, former president, heck, what do you call it? Congressperson, senator, any of that. If somebody attacks them, I don't know if you saw a couple years ago, Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in his home, and there's a lot of stuff about that, right? It was his lover, it was this, it was that. And I'm not gonna get into any of that crap. But he was attacked like with a hammer. If that's valid, if he was attacked with a hammer, then that's terrible. And if he was attacked by a hammer with a right wing extremist, then throw his tail in jail, the right wing guy. And if it was a left wing guy, throw his tail in jail. I don't care. It doesn't matter. There's never a good reason to attack someone. Period. So I want to establish that to begin with. But the Secret Service, and they may have done a very, very poor job. They may have been incompetent. You can make all kinds of claims about that. He did get shot in the ear. The entirety of my problem is that there are a lot of people acting like it's some kind of conspiracy, in the Secret Service and the FBI are involved or were involved or allowed this to happen or a bunch of other things. And here's my opinion on that. Just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Until you can show me, I mean, I am absolutely 100% behind the calls for the Secret Service director to resign. You failed at your job, you should resign. When you failed that miserably at your job, which it's obvious that you failed miserably at that job, you should resign. But there are a lot of people calling for criminal charges because, well, they were criminally negligent. And that's possibly true. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm not saying that there wasn't somebody who was criminally negligent, literally allowing this to happen. I've heard reports of a police officer who had the rifle pointed at him before the guy crawled up on the roof. I've heard reports of, and I didn't independently verify any of these, and I'm not going to independently verify any of this. I'm not going to put a whole lot of time and effort into independently verifying things because I'm not trying to report, quote unquote, report the news. I'm trying to discuss through an intellectually honest and kingdom approach these events. Because like a lot of people, I want to know, what does this mean for me as a kingdom person, as a servant of Christ, and my identity in Christ, and what does all that have to do with these types of things? So this show is going to be us looking at something like that, and we're going to talk about the two possibilities. We're going to talk about the possibility that it was indeed some kind of conspiracy by the swamp to get rid of Trump. It might have been, man. It might have been. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not possible. I'm going to sit here and say I don't have any proof. No, I don't think anybody does. Nobody has presented anything as of yet, at least anything that's been presented to me. I'm just some schmuck living in Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half away from where it happened. There are a lot of people way above my intelligence level. Most of them. Some of them aren't. I mean, let's be honest. Some of the people in the government aren't as smart as the paper towel I just sat my cup on. But they have to. The people in charge of this type of thing have to go through it, look at it, figure out what happened. I absolutely agree with some of the senators and Congress people, some of our government officials who long before, I can't remember her name, not that it matters, the Secret Service director resigned. We're calling for her to be fired, and I'm going to say, yeah, I agree with them. She should have been fired. She should have known Saturday. What time did it happen? Like 6:30, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. Whatever time it was, that literally seconds after that, it should have been like she should have just known. She shouldn't have had to have been fired. Matter of fact, she should have resigned that night. She should have just put it out right then and there. I'm resigning. If you fail that miserably at a job, just quit. Just move on. Go find something else to do. And there are people, and I agree in some parts with them, and I'd have to look at her specifically because I don't know anything about the Secret Service director who just resigned because she failed miserably at her job. I know nothing about her, so I can't speak to this legitimately. All I can say is that I have seen plenty of evidence of the impact of DEI on all kinds of places. And as much as I don't want to go, that direction, let's look at it from an intellectually honest place. I happen to agree with some folks. I don't remember who it was. I don't have a clue who it was. But I actually happen to agree wholeheartedly with some folks who had said that when you're walking up onto a plane, do you want to look at your pilot and realize that because he's not a white man, he might be there undeservingly? Because there's I forget what airline it was, and I'm not trying to bash anybody, so I'm glad I don't remember what airline it was. But there was an airline that specifically said we're going to stop looking at qualifications and we're just going to hire more black people, more Mexican people, more whatever. It doesn't matter. I hate to even say, quote unquote, more black people, because people are going to be like, he's racist. No. What I'm saying is that I don't care if it's man, woman, child. I don't care what race, creed, color, religion, whatever you are. We should be hiring people solely on their merit. There shouldn't be any call anywhere in this world for somebody to be hired just because they happen to fit into a certain mold. Period. If you're better at the job, you get the job. And I'll speak to that. I'll speak to that in a personal way. A while ago, I had put my name in for a job. It was probably what I would call one of the 3 dream jobs in my lifetime that I would have liked to have had. I went for an interview. It was at a Christian camp, a Christian service camp in Sylvan Hills, and I love Sylvan Hills. It's an amazing place, and I don't mind bringing this up because this is not at all a complaint. I sent my resume into the what do they call it, the selection committee, and a couple other people sent their resumes in, and they called us in for interviews. And we go in and we interview. I'm also on the board of directors for the camp. So they interviewed 3 of us. They picked a guy. And they gave the information on him to the board after they had chosen him. And I remember this distinctly because it was an amazing day. I'm riding back from a board meeting with Scott, Brother Scott, and he was driving, and I was kind of looking at the resume of the gentleman who got picked over me. He got picked over me. Okay? We competed for the job, and he got picked over me, and I'm looking at his resume, and I'm going, holy man, this guy, yeah, I'd have picked him too. And if you can look at whoever got picked over you for a job and be like, wow, yeah, makes sense, then there's no need to fight with them about whether or not it was some circumstance that has nothing to do with your skill. I have all the skills I need to perform that job, but this guy had all the skills that I had, and then a bunch more that I would have had to have developed. So when we look at these things, can we look at them with honesty? That's what I'm saying. With intellectual honesty, I could have gone upset and been like, he got picked over me, and I've been a part of this camp for decades, and I grew up here, and blah, 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 blah. And that's how I felt inside. There was a part of me that was like, I wanted to be picked. And then he starts the job, and I went up for a cleanup weekend, and I met him, and the guy was such a nice guy too. So it's like, even it's just like that was almost like insult to injury, because he's such a nice guy. I really liked him. I really do like him. So that's, can we just stop being so full of entitlement? Can we be grateful? I'm grateful for all that I have. Not always. I'm not always good at it. I'm not always. There's just so many things that kind of cover that. But here we are, And I sit back and I look at these things and I realize that a lot of times we're grabbing onto how we feel in these circumstances. I feel, okay, I did in 2020 vote for Trump. I am likely to vote again for Trump in 2024. Something significant. Kamala Harris is going to have to say something really special to change my mind. And I'm not saying she can't. I don't know. There is a possibility. I will say that. There's always a possibility that something might be said or something might happen that makes me go, okay. It happens. Happened in 2016 because I had no intention at all of voting for Donald Trump. And then there was a debate and he said something and I went, oh. And I kind of, that's where the flip happened for me. I'm like, okay, all right, let's give it a shot. I will never say no to anything because if I don't have the ability to be convinced otherwise, if my opinion stands in a certain place and I don't have an ability to be convinced otherwise, then I'm useless. I can no longer be counted on to look at something intellectually centered. Okay, so did the Secret Service screw up? Yeah, big time. Should she resign? Yes, and she did, and that's good. She should have. Should charges be pressed? Was there a conspiracy? Are these people trying to kill Donald Trump? I don't know. It's possible. I haven't seen anything yet that convinces me. I'll say the same thing about just so you get an idea of temperature-wise where I lay on this whole thing. I'll say the same thing. I'll say not the same thing. I'll give you my opinion of the 2020 election theft and the January 6th situation. So you can kind of get a gauge for what this show is, how it's going to go and what it's going to be like, as we have about 26 minutes left. So I'll just to kind of give you an idea of what our news program is going to be like, our political news, politics, and culture viewed through Kingdom Eyes. That's what it's ultimately going to be called. Or that's what it's ultimately going to be described as. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I look at the election from 2020, and were there squirrely things that happened? Yes. Were there some places where the other side changed the rules to give themselves an unfair advantage? Yeah, more than likely. Seems like there's a pretty good amount of reliable evidence of that very fact out there. Was it, quote unquote, stolen? Did they do something illegal? They might have, but I didn't see anything that would give me that impression. Now, thank God I'm not a judge. I wouldn't have to make any of these decisions, but the judges who decided, that's the conversation I had with somebody about Mike Pence. I support Trump. I'm probably going to vote for him, like I said. I did not agree with him or some of the people representing him in that election because they made it sound like they had a lot more evidence of a lot more diabolical things than what apparently happened by what I'm looking at. Now, somebody may have evidence out there somewhere that says otherwise. I didn't see it. So just looking at it, trying to look at it in a way that is kingdom-centered and intellectually honest and neutral, I don't think I would call it a steal. I do not begrudge him doing that. I do not begrudge them fighting as hard as they can in the courts and as hard as they could in the courts to try to overturn it. I also do not blame Mike Pence for not being willing to go against. I do believe the vice president has the power to deny the certification of the election. The Democrats claimed he didn't, and then immediately moved to make rules that said he couldn't. If he didn't have the power, why would they need to make the rules that he couldn't? So there's a piece of that where I'm kind of like, you guys are lying to yourselves too, which is a thing with the extreme sides of both sides. I don't care if you're extreme left, extreme right. you're lying to yourself about something, guaranteed. Same thing goes for the January 6th debacle. Were there people involved in that should be arrested? Yeah, probably. Should someone who had the door opened? I saw the video of that, and I'm just like, how? How can you arrest somebody and put them in jail for 16, 18 months, whatever it was, when the security, whether it's Capitol Police or whatever, in the Capitol, opened, seriously, opened the door for him. He was invited in. All right, so now you kind of have an idea, which is perfect. I want you to have an idea, okay? Because I think there were some people that did some really ridiculous things. Donald Trump did not, in any way, suggest an insurrection. He didn't try to overthrow the government. That's garbage. He said some stupid things. Absolutely. You know, after somebody tried to shoot Donald Trump, I saw a video of a guy come out and he was talking about they should go arrest Joe Biden because shortly after the debate, Biden in a press conference, I think it was, or in something, he said that in some kind of announcement, he said that we really have to put the bullseye on Trump. We should arrest him because he encouraged this. That makes as much sense as them saying that we should arrest Trump for encouraging the January 6th debacle. It was not an insurrection. Those people were not trying to overturn the government. The Republicans, the right wing, whatever you want to call it, we were not trying to overturn the government. Let me make this perfectly clear. If the actual conservative Republican majority ever decides to overthrow this government, you will know it will not be up for debate because the government will be overthrown. All right, this is a bunch of people who were very angry because they lost, just like in 2016. You were very angry because you lost, but instead of taking a couple of days off to cry in their closet or put on their little vajayjay hats and stand in the street screaming, they went and they protested. The president said, do so peacefully. Obey the law. That's what he asked for. That's what he said out loud. You can see the video. Stop trying to make it seem like he encouraged those people to go overturn the government. Stop trying to make it seem like any of those people actually wanted to harm anyone. That Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, I don't remember. AOC, she made it sound like somebody was coming to rape her. They weren't. They weren't. They had no interest in any of that. They were throwing a fit, much like the fit you threw shortly after the election in 2016. Like the fit you'll throw in a couple of months. And a few things got broken. I think. Maybe a window or two. It was very much, it was much more peaceful than the peaceful protests that happened in the summer of 2020. Yeah. The whole BLM riots. So can we just be intellectually honest about all of this and just kind of sit back and go, this is ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous. That we would act this way towards each other. That's just a fact. It's a straight and complete fact that under no circumstance is it okay that somebody takes a shot at the president. I will tell you, and you can ask people that knew me during the 2020 elections, while we were in the election cycle of the 2020 elections, there were people who made a lot of statements about President Joe Biden because he sniffed hair and stuff. And I said, I said it then, I'll say it now, and I'm not trying to argue that this is proof that that's a case or whatever. Just because he is a creepy old booger doesn't mean he's necessarily a pedophile. Now, there are some accusations of that. They may have proof of that. I don't know. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying that's not proof that he is. I'm saying, can we just get back to like treating each other like humans? Anyone who votes for Kamala Harris, for instance, I want to say now, I love you. And if you win, congratulations. And if you lose, I'm sorry. But can we just move on with the business of living our lives the moment it's over? Because it really doesn't matter that much. It does, because it affects inflation and it affects, all of these other things. And I'll say, like anybody else, all I want to do is do better than we're doing now. And we were doing better then than we are now. So if you're asking me why I'm not gonna vote for Donald Trump because I think he's the best person ever. I'm not gonna vote for Donald Trump because I think he's good enough to date my daughter. I'm gonna vote for Donald Trump because I think he's what's best for this country. Even if I think he's a jackass, I think he's what's best for this country. I'm gonna vote for him because if you look at him, he's the only president who ever lost money by being president. Literally. That's got to count for something, man. That's big, because people have said that he's doing it because of his legacy. He's got buildings all over the world with his name on it. People have said he's doing it because, he wants to be more famous. He's the most famous man on the planet and was before he became president. As a matter of fact, he took a huge hit in his popularity. So if he was doing it for popularity, he took a huge hit. Much, much less popular. A lot of people who kissed his ass for a lot of years turned around and hated on him the moment he said, yeah, I think I will run for president. Some who had called before for him to run for president. For instance. Let's see if I can get this one up and running. Probably get myself in trouble, but hey, whatever. I'm no point now, or I really don't care if I get myself in a little bit of trouble. Okay, boom. Boom. Some of you may have already seen this. Oh, unmute it.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life.
If you pick me, you're going to pick a winner.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade.
I want free trade, but I want it to be like, at least we break even, right? We do something.
If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies.
Japan, they send cars by the millions. They come off those boats.
Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Why didn't we say we want 50% of your oil forever, or we're not letting you go back in?
Now you go through and you can find video after video
Let's
after
get into
video
some things. The
of this
Reform
kind of
Party,
thing.
by its name, means reform.
I'm going to go ahead and shut that down. I don't want to run that one. But he has, for years, there was one, David Letterman. David Letterman actually said to Trump one time, hey, are you going to run? You should run. He said that. He said, you should run. A lot of these people were huge fans of his until the moment he started, actually doing things. And it was like, ah! So, I don't think any of them care about you or I. I think he's about as close as we're going to get to a president who actually cares about the people he's serving. I think you look at the records of the two. This is what I'm talking about when we're trying to figure out who we're going to vote for, and looking at it from trying to look at it from a kingdom point of view. I don't think that the people who say that if you're kingdom people you shouldn't care about politics. I think you're wrong. because Jesus does say, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and it is your responsibility to vote. That is the only way in our country, in our current political format, it's the only way for us to try to right wrongs is to vote for people who will change these things. So I think you definitely want to, kind of sit back. And Peter said that we should submit to authority. That means in the voting thing too, because, the authority says we should vote. It's a responsibility. It's not just a right. It's a responsibility. I told my mother a while ago, back, I think it was before the 2020 election, we were talking, and she was trying to figure out who she was going to vote for, and she was going back and forth. And believe it or not, she went back and forth. It took a while to convince her to vote for Donald Trump. One of the big things I did to convince her was I pointed out the fact that Joe Biden and the Democrats were calling to push even more of the Affordable Care Act. They wanted to push the Affordable Care Act further and further into our lives. And I think they've done that and tried that since he's been president. And I looked at my mom, who was, she was on a fixed income. So she was on her retirement, her Social Security. And she had Medicare or whatever, and she had to go apply for medical assistance, which sometimes she did qualify, sometimes she didn't. And when she didn't, it was a mess. It was a nightmare. When she did qualify for medical assistance, it wasn't so bad. But when she did, or when she didn't, it was a nightmare. So I looked at her and I said, look at it. And then I took the veterans care in our country, and I said, look at this. I said, look at this. Look at how a lot of our veterans live, how hard they have to fight. My Uncle Roy and one of my mother's brothers and a couple other people my mom knew had to deal with it, so she kind of had a clue of how it worked. And it's hard for anybody who's a veteran of a war, a veteran of our military, to get a lot of what they're entitled to. Because the Veterans Administration is so screwed up because of red tape. If our government can't get those right, if they bankrupt Social Security to the point where in a few years we're not going to be able to pay, and this is right, left, middle, it's all of them. And that was the whole thing with me. What ultimately made me decide to vote for Donald Trump in 2016 was the fact that he wasn't any of them. That he managed to successfully run, dozens of companies, real estate in New York. He built all this stuff, and he had some fail, and he had more succeed than failed. I was like, that's what I want. That's what we want in our country. We want that risk taking. We want the ability, the freedom. And as a president, I think he actually showed us that he means what he says, because during the COVID lockdowns, he could have flipped it. If he wanted to be America's first tyrant, he could have been. There were Democrats and Republicans alike calling for him to be. When Florida decided to open up and some of the other states that opened up a little early, they were calling for him to stop them. Don't let them open up early. Don't let them open up early. What are you doing? But that's I think some of that was people who just they have to disagree with him. I don't disagree with everything ever that Joe Biden did. I don't disagree with everything ever that Kamala Harris did, I imagine. I don't really know a whole lot about her. I do disagree with some of the policies and things that Donald Trump did while he was president. I'm allowed to disagree with our president. I can still respect him while disagreeing. I can still support our president while disagreeing. I support Joe Biden right up to the last day he's in office. I do. Because he's our frickin' president. And we've gotten to the point where we're wishing for terrible things to happen to our president or our presidential nominee. I don't want anything bad to happen to Joe Biden. I don't want anything bad to happen to Kamala Harris. I don't want anything bad to happen to Nancy Pelosi or any of the other people who I don't agree with on a lot of politics. I want them to be accepted into the kingdom of the heavens. I want them to realize how badly they need the grace and forgiveness that God has provided through his son. That's what I want for any of our political or otherwise opponents. You know, you're talking Vladimir Putin, you're talking the what do they call him, the Ayatollah of Iran. You're talking these dictators. When you're talking about China, you're talking about North Korea, Venezuela. I don't care where you're talking about. Any of these people you're talking about who arguably have done evil things, we pray for them. We pray for them to see the light, to embrace the light of grace and love that God has provided for us, to repent and turn to God. And I know there's people out there right now going, well, it's got to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, you're right. It's going to get worse before Christ comes. There are actual prophecies that say it's going to get worse before Christ comes. That doesn't mean we stop. Doesn't mean we give up. I've had actual followers of Christ who have been like, wow, there's no sense because, before Jesus comes back, it's going to get a lot worse. Yeah, no, I'm not denying that. There is absolutely zero denial here for that statement. That statement is true. It's going to get worse on all of us before our Messiah returns. That is true. True. 100% true. But that doesn't mean we give up, because he certainly didn't tell us to give up. That is certainly not the instructions we have from our God, from our Savior, from our Messiah. That is certainly not what we've been told or commanded to do. So that is how we're going to end our program today. We got about 10 minutes left before we hit the hour mark. We might not quite hit the hour mark. That's okay. The average human's, what was it? I forget what it was. It was a couple years back, too, so maybe it's changed. But at one point, the average human attention span was like 48 minutes. That's why when we were kids, they had 48-minute classes. Our classes were 42 to 48 minutes, depending on what school you went to. That was it. That was it, man. Because they knew they'd lose us right around 42, so they'd send us to the next one. That's what I used to say when I was a kid. I don't know how true it is now. I mean, it might be 4 minutes at this point. I know most of my family, it's 4 minutes at this point. All right. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I am going to ask, this is going to be odd for a news program, but it's a news program on God's Love Live, so get over it. I am going to speak to the Lord. I am going to pray, and I would like if you would join me. Lord, thank you for everything. Our gratitude, whether we know it or not, our gratitude has no limit. The amount of gratitude that we should be showing you has no limit. I praise your name for all you've given us. I praise your name for me being born in this country where I have had the freedom to be the man who you are making me. We ask that you watch over and bless our leaders, our president, our vice president. There are the opposition coming up in the election, former President Trump. We ask not that our will be done, Lord, but that yours here on earth be done. If what we think is right isn't just, Help us to accept and understand why you would allow what we think is wrong to be the truth. Help us to love one another and have a unity that doesn't necessarily come with always agreeing on everything, but a unity of love. So that I can look at my brothers and sisters who may be on a different political aisle than me, may have differing opinions than me, and I can say, but I love you, brother and sister. No matter what. And open the eyes of the other side, that they would see that no matter what, we are still brothers and sisters in Christ. We ask all that in Jesus' name. And I ask that you bless this audience and bless this program, if it be your will that more people would see it and maybe it could affect the world around us. We ask all that in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen. I got to put my hat back on. All right, so thank you for joining me. Don't forget, you can join us each and every day, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., noon to 4 on www.godslovelive.com, and our video usually noon to somewhere around 2. It went to closer to 3 today, but that's, me. Check out our on-demand programming on our Roku channel. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, know that our Roku channel has a lot of this stuff piled up on demand, so go check that out. Email chuckles@godslovelive.com. Call or text 814-651-8865. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Has a lot of this stuff piled up. Yeah, did you get my note in time before you headed home?
No.
I sent you.
For about 15 minutes.
I sent you a note back saying, listen, your pills were important. We don't want to have to waste gas by making a second trip into Phillipsburg. So if something like that happens, call. I'll pause the video. I'll pick it up so that I can tell you that, yeah, go ahead and use the card to get your pills and save us a trip back into Phillipsburg later tonight.
What card? There was no card in the car.
It should be.
Well, it's not. You told me you were taking it out.
I didn't yet.
Well, it wasn't there.
Well, we'll have to find it, and I guess I'll have to waste $10 on that $2 charge. You know what? what? As a matter of fact, I did, because remember I put gas in the car. So I probably did take it out, and it was probably in my pocket when I went in the house, and I stuck it up in there. So it's probably up in the cupboard that's been taken over by the board games. Probably under the board games. Might be on top of one box and under a couple other boxes. I don't know. You'll have to look.
Yeah, I came out, and when I didn't hear from you right away, I just assumed that you were still busy and
Well, you know you don't get texts, so if you don't hear back from me on something important, maybe assume that even though I texted you, you did, because apparently you didn't see my text, because I sent you a text. For that, yeah, use the card, save us the trouble of having to run back in later. But anyway, doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. It was an antibiotic. It shouldn't have had a copay.
well, it did.
Did you ask why?
No, we didn't.
You should probably ask questions sometimes. Like, it has a copay? What was the copay?
It's going to be a total of $2.
Yeah, that's odd. I didn't think that antibiotics had a copay.
Some do.
Okay, well, where are you at the house or what?
Yeah, I'm at the house. I've been here for about 15 minutes.
Okay, do you want to come get me, and then I'll come back over in the car, or do you just want to wait until I'm done and come get me? I'll be about half hour, 45 minutes.
I'll just wait because I'm making my cake.
That's why I asked, because if you already started making the cake, then you can just wait. I'll text you when I'm about done, and you don't have to be in a rush. I'm not going to beat you if you don't come immediately. Or you can just at your convenience, because did Tyler go to work?
No.
So at your convenience, you could have them follow you over and drop the car off.
Yeah.
Hell, you should have messaged them on the way back and said, meet me over there, and you could have dropped the car off, and we could have saved a bunch of bullshit. Okay, well, let me know if you end up dropping the car off, or I'll let you know when I'm about done and you can come over.
Okay.
Love you, bye.
Bye.
is kind of like, it's really discouraging. I have no idea what my benefit's going to be, so I can't even tell anybody. I tried to look it up, but
Yeah, so if you, yeah, I don't have access to that information. I know that sometimes it's not available online once we get the applications going, but
Yep.
if you were to call the Social Security office, they can tell you what your disability payment would be once you are approved. They can give you that information over the phone if you wanted to give them a call.
oh, that's good to
I know
know.
a lot of times the information's available online, and then once the application gets started, a lot of times that information is unavailable online.
That's exactly what happened. I went to look a couple of weeks ago. I went and logged into the Social Security system to look and see if I could find out what that was, so I could kind of have an idea. Because if I had, if I knew it's going to take, at least 5 or 6 months, and I knew the benefit was X amount of dollars, let's say 2,000. Okay, it's $2,000 and it's going to take 6 months. Well, I know I'm going to have that. I know that once I get approved, I'm going to have that chunk, and I'll be able to say, okay, I'm going to have this chunk, and then I'm going to have that, and I could actually maybe
Right.
make it easier for me to survive the next 6 months.
Yeah. Did you want me to text you the Social Security office where you're at? That way, if you want to call them, they can give you that information. I can send that over to you.
Yeah, that'd be helpful, and then I could call tomorrow and maybe get an idea where I'm at with that, because that would be something where,
Yeah, I will text you. I will text you the field office. That's the office that that will be processing your claim. Once it's done with the hearing and all that good stuff, it gets sent back to the field office for final processing. So that's going to be an office that will be processing your claim at the end. So I can give you their phone number so that way if you want to give them a call to get an idea of where you're going to be at. But once the benefits go through, I'll text that over to you.
okay, that'd be perfect. And then the last question I have is, I recently established a website and YouTube presence.
Okay?
I'm making videos. I am studying, because I thought, well, if this thing doesn't work out, it would be great to have some kind of idea of what I'm going to do next. That might be something
Right.
I could possibly do without. Anyway, I enrolled in a school. It's a Christian school,
Okay.
getting trying to kind of get a degree. It's something that doesn't have to be paid until after it's finished, which is awesome. But I then established a YouTube channel, and it's all, I'm doing it right now. They're not making any money. I'm just doing it. Is there any problem that could cause if there's no money coming in?
I don't think so. I think as long as it's not, the only issue you run into is when you're earning money and it goes over what they allow. If you're not making any money on it, I don't think there's any issue with it. I can double check with Aaron when he gets off the phone, but I'm pretty sure as long as there's some money coming in, I don't think there's going to be any problems on that.
Okay, because it was just something that I was
Yeah.
moved to do, and I could share some knowledge, maybe that would be useful to people. Oh man, sorry.
Well, I don't think, no, you're fine. No, I don't think, if you're not earning any income on it, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. Only if you were earning, then you would, you have to make sure you're below what they allow. But as long as there's no money, I don't think that'll cause any problem.
Well, and that's something that if it ever actually did start earning money, how much money I took from it would be a whole, because it's, like I said, it's kind of a ministry thing, and the point is, and then I would be able to set, like, well, I'm going to take $700 a month out of it or something. But like I said, I haven't had I think one donation for $200 so far, and that got put
Yeah,
into.
no, you should, yeah, you should be fine. I think you'll be okay.
Okay, well, that's it for me then.
Keep me updated on any doctors that you see. I know you said you're going to a neurologist, you said, for your neuropathy at your feet?
Foot doctor, is that whatever they're
Foot
called?
doctor, yes. Yes, foot doctor, sorry. Yeah, so, do you have that doctor's information yet?
I don't. I'll have it all after. I mean, I saw him once a couple months ago, and then I I have an appointment with my what do you call him, primary care physician. I think next week or the week after, I have an appointment And at that appointment, I want to look at him and be like, hey, listen, this is getting really bad. Can we get me back into the foot doctor to kind of take a look and figure out, what we can do, if anything, because my feet are starting to look a little like my mother's did. My mother's feet turned purple, and before she died, they were shriveled up, purple, and dried, and cracky. It was disgusting. And mine are starting to go that direction. So I'm kind of like, I want to get them checked before they get bad. Hopefully, there's something we can do about it, but I don't even know if there's anything we can do about it. It's just kind of a thing.
Right.
So.
Okay. Just keep us updated once you have the information from the doctor. Just update us at any time. That way, about a month before the hearing is when we're going to request those medical records. So just keep us updated for any changes, any new doctors that you see. And then if you have any questions at any time, of course, please let me know. You might get a packet of paperwork from Social Security regarding the hearing. If you get anything from them, don't worry about sending anything back into them. We make sure that everything they need gets submitted. But if you're not sure, just let me know. But we'll get the request for the hearing submitted, so there's nothing that you have to worry about. We'll take care of it all.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have any other questions before I let you go?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, if you need anything, please let me know. And then I'll get with Mo to get the request for hearing submitted. You might not hear anything for a while from the office until we get the hearing date and time. But at any time, please feel free to call into the office with any questions or to check on the status or with any updates that you may have.
Okay.
All right, Charles. Thank you for calling me back. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great day.